All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a really fascinating text that connects some huge ideas: science, religion, and, believe it or not, the real reasons we go to war. It's the kind of thing that makes you look at the systems we trust most in a totally new way, and it all starts with an assumption most of us just take for granted. Most of us have this picture in our heads. Over here, you've got science, it's logical, you can test it, and it's all built on a solid foundation of hard data. And over there, you have religion, which is based on faith, on doctrine, things you can't exactly prove with a telescope. They seem like polar opposites, right? Two completely different worlds. But here's where the source material we're digging into today throws a wrench in the works. It asks a pretty provocative question. What if that neat dividing line we've drawn between them isn't so clear? What if, at their very core, these two massive systems are actually built on the same blueprint? And that question, well, it leads us straight to the central argument of this whole text, the idea that there's a shared foundation, a kind of common architecture, hiding underneath everything we think we know about them. Okay, so here it is, laid out plain and simple. The source claims that not just science and religion, but mathematics too, are all at their heart belief systems. Now that's a pretty bold statement. I mean, math? A belief system? So let's see how the text actually backs that up. So, how in the world can math and science be belief systems? It all comes down to a very specific definition. The source isn't talking about faith in a higher power. It defines a belief system as any framework we use to make sense of the world by distinguishing things and ordering things. Basically, it's about creating categories, drawing lines, and building a structured map of reality. And when you look at it like that, well, yeah, science, math, and religion all definitely fit that description. Okay, so if we run with this idea for a minute, that science is just another belief system, then you have to ask, why is it so powerful? Why does it feel so much more, well, real than the others? The source has a very clear answer for that. The first part of the answer is simple: data. Science shows its work, right? It presents evidence, numbers, and results that we can see and verify for ourselves. This makes it an incredibly easy belief system to get on board with. It's not asking for blind faith. It's offering what looks like proof. And where does all that proof come from? Well, it's gathered by our technology, our telescopes, our supercolliders, our computers. We depend on these tools to collect the raw data that becomes the bedrock of our entire scientific worldview. But hang on, did you catch that key word here? Seem. We trust our machines. We have faith that they're giving us this objective, unfiltered window into how the universe really works. But this is the exact spot where the source slams on the brakes and introduces a huge note of caution. And here's the twist. The source argues that our machines, all our incredible measurement tools, have built-in limits. They can only measure what they were designed to measure. This creates a tiny but crucial gap between the reality our instruments show us and what reality actually is. And according to this text, that little gap, that is the ultimate problem. Now, this is where the whole discussion takes a sharp and, honestly, pretty dramatic turn. We go from philosophy right into global conflict. Because if our most objective system has this fundamental flaw, what does that say about the conflicts we fight over who is right and who is wrong? According to the source, every single war in human history, no matter how complex it seems, can be boiled down to just two fundamental reasons.
That's it.
Just two.
So what do you think they are? What are those two core motivations?
And there they are: greed and religion. The desire for more resources, more land, more wealth, and the violent clash between competing belief systems. You can see how it all connects, right? Conflict explodes when one group's way of ordering things runs headfirst into another's, or when one group just plain wants what the other group has. So if you follow that logic, the source makes a really powerful ethical argument. If wars are only ever fought for greed or over competing beliefs, then no side can ever truly claim the moral high ground. I mean, how can you be objectively right when your motivation is either just selfish desire or a belief system that you can't actually prove? So what's the solution? What's the way out? According to the source, the path is clear. You just don't go to war. The answer is to always keep talking, to keep the lines of communication open, to always use diplomacy. Because the alternative, war, is based on a fundamentally flawed and unjustifiable premise. And all of this builds up to the source's final, and incredibly blunt judgment on the whole nature of conflict and on the people who start them. There it is, the final takeaway. The thinking goes like this. If you accept the whole argument, that wars are just about greed and religion, and that no belief system is provably absolute, then the act of starting a war can only be done by two kinds of people. Someone who is ignorant of this truth, or a villain who knows it and does it anyway. And so that leaves us with a really deep question to think about. If our most trusted systems, science, religion, governments, all of it, are ultimately just human-made frameworks for creating order, how do we decide which version of order is the right one? And when it really comes down to it, how do we decide which of those orders are truly worth defending?